When Melissa smiled as she signed the divorce papers, I felt nothing. No sadness, no anger, no regret, just stillness. The kind of stillness you feel before a storm hits. That eerie calm where the world seems to pause right before everything changes. We had been married for 7 years. On the surface, we looked stable, solid, the kind of couple people described as doing fine. We took vacations twice a year, held hands at family dinners, shared filtered photos on holidays that looked almost perfect. But beneath all of it, there was silence. The kind that grows slowly, like mold in the corners of a house you stopped noticing. At some point, Melissa stopped looking at me the same way. I became predictable, comfortable. She used to call me reliable with a smile, but I could see it in her eyes. What she really meant was boring. I wasn't flashy. I wasn't dangerous. I didn't make her heart race anymore. And somewhere along the way, she found someone who did. I knew she was cheating, long before the rumors, before the change in her voice when she answered late-night messages, before she started hiding her phone like it was a vault. I knew. And yet, I didn't say a word, not because I was weak, but because I was waiting. See, Melissa believed I was a safe bet, a man with a quiet IT job, a modest house, and a routine life. She thought I was the kind of man who would break down, beg, maybe even fight to keep her. But what she didn't know was that while I'm out playing games behind my back, I was building something far more important, something silent, something strong. Because sometimes the most dangerous person in the room is the one who says the least. And when she laughed at day thinking she had won, I just sat there, calm, cold, watching her celebrate a victory what hadn't truly earned. But here's the thing. What Melissa didn't know was that I had been preparing for this moment for a very long time. Have you ever been underestimated by the very person who claimed to love you? Stick around. The twist hasn't even started yet. People used to say we looked like the perfect couple. We had the photos to prove it. Smiling on beaches, arms around each other at weddings, her head resting on my shoulder at Christmas parties. Our home was always tidy. The holidays came and went with gifts and laughter. And our social media made everything look just right. But perfect can be hollow. And sometimes the emptiest relationships are the ones that appear the fullest from the outside. In the beginning, there was warmth, real affection. We would fall asleep talking, wake up making plans, steal moments in the middle of chaos just to be close. But then something shifted. Nothing loud or sudden, just a quiet slide into silence. We stopped talking before bed, stopped checking in during the day. Dinners turned into scrolling on separate screens. Weekend plans became obligations. The space between us on the couch grew inch by inch until it felt like we were sitting on opposite ends of the world. I noticed how she started guarding her phone. She'd tilt the screen away, leave the room to answer messages, smile at notifications. She wouldn't explain. She got new clothes, started working out more, said it was for her confidence. I wanted to believe her. For a while I even convinced myself I was overthinking, but deep down I knew. There's a kind of loneliness that hits when the person lying next to you feels like a stranger. A kind of ache that doesn't shout, it just lingers. And the worst part is pretending you don't feel it. I remember lying awake some nights, listening to the soft glow of her phone screen flicker on and off. I didn't confront her, I didn't ask questions. I just watched, observed, waited, because even in the quiet, I was planning. While she drifted away, I was building something no one could see, something she never bothered to ask about. We weren't fighting, we weren't loving either. We were just existing. Two people under the same roof, going through the motions, and sometimes that hurts more than any argument ever could. I knew long before she ever admitted it, before the pieces all fit together. I knew Melissa was cheating. I knew about a sudden change in her routine, the way she got defensive when I asked harmless questions, the way she smiled at her phone in the dark and said it was just work. I saw the shift. I felt the distance. I heard the silence growing louder with every passing week. But I didn't react. I didn't scream. I didn't confront her with accusations or demand the truth she was never going to give. Because while she was playing games, I was making moves. What Melissa never understood was that I was never just the quiet guy in it, the man with the modest car, the 9-to-5 job, the predictable evenings. That was my mask, a shell I wore for comfort, for control, for protection. Years ago, I started working on something after hours, a project that began with late nights, cheap coffee, and a whiteboard in the corner of our garage. A tech idea I believed in, a system no one had quite built yet. I kept it to myself. Not because I didn't trust her, but because I wanted something that was mine, untouched. UNSHARED. When the pandemic hit, while the world slowed down, my company sped up. What started as a side hustle grew into a thriving platform. I registered it under a holding company. I separated all assets. I made sure my name was never attached in ways that could be traced back through marriage. Every contract, every dollar, every intellectual property was handled with quiet precision while she scrolled Instagram and fell in love with someone else's muscles. I built a company that exploded in value. By the time she handed me divorce papers, my net worth was just shy of $12 million, and I never changed a thing about my life. I still drove the same car. wore the same watch, packed the same lunch every morning because I wanted her to believe the lie, that I was boring, predictable, safe. Some people think silence is weakness, but silence is a strategy. A quiet man, watching everything, waiting, building. And when the moment came, I was ready. The day she handed me the divorce papers, Melissa looked like she was heading to brunch, not ending a marriage. Her smile was effortless, her outfit polished, her tone casual. She sipped on a green smoothie like we were simply discussing weekend plans. "I think we both know this is for the best," she said, not a trace of doubt in her voice. I looked at her for a moment, then nodded. "I agree." I could see the surprise flicker across her face. It was quick, but it was there. She expected a fight, maybe a desperate plea, a crack in my composure, but all she got was a signature and silence. I signed the papers without asking for anything, no objections, no drama. I let her believe she had won. In the weeks that followed, she stepped into a new life with pride. Her social media lit up like a parade. New selfies, new workouts, new man, the same one I had seen pick her up 3 blocks from our house, just out of range of the security cameras. She was glowing in her freedom, as if the weight of our quiet, dependable marriage had been lifted. Her captions were filled with phrases, like fresh start and choosing happiness. Friends cheered her on in the comments. She looked unstoppable. But what she didn't know was that the man she thought she had outgrown was the same man who had quietly built an empire behind closed doors. And while she flaunted her new life, I waited calm, patient, watching it all unfold. Some people rush into the next chapter thinking they've closed the book on you, but I had only just begun writing mine. She thought she was walking away from something small, something safe, something forgettable. But soon, she would realize exactly what she had left behind. Not with a scream, not with revenge, but with the sound of everything she once underestimated. Rising quietly above her, she walked into the courtroom like it was a runway, hairstyled to perfection, a tight dress that hugged every curve, a look of confidence that bordered on arrogance. Melissa was glowing, but not from peace, from victory. She had rehearsed this moment in her head. This was her finale. She took her seat across from me, flashing a small smile like we were sharing some private joke. Then she winked. I didn't smile back. My lawyer and I sat quietly, our folders neatly organized. No words, just waiting. The judge called the session to order and moved quickly through the formalities. Then came the moment Melissa had been anticipating regarding the division of assets. The judge began. "We'll review financial disclosures submitted by both parties." Melissa straightened in her chair. Her lawyer stood with confident steps. "Your Honor, my client believes Mr. Preston may be withholding financial information. His reported salary does not align with certain lifestyle expenditures, including travel and investment patterns." The judge didn't react. He simply opened the folder I had submitted earlier that morning. "Actually," the judge said, adjusting his glasses, "Mr. Preston has provided full documentation." Melissa blinked. Her lawyer froze. The judge continued, his tone measured and firm. "Mr. Preston is the founder and sole owner of Preston Innovations, LLC. The company was established prior to the marriage, is registered under a separate legal entity, and holds no joint financial activity with the petitioner. Intellectual properties, licensing agreements, and investment portfolios fall under business assets." I didn't look at her. I didn't have to. "As per the prenuptial agreement signed in 2016, the judge went on, which remains valid and enforceable, all business-related assets are classified as Mr. Preston's separate property." Melissa's mouth opened slightly, but no sound came out. Her lawyer whispered something to her. She shook her head. "I didn't know any of this," she said suddenly, her voice cracking just a little. "We were married. I should be entitled to something." The judge closed the folder. "There is no legal basis to award the petitioner any portion of the business assets," he said. "We will proceed with standard division of jointly acquired marital property. This includes the vehicle registered jointly and the shared checking account." That was it. No house, no spousal support, no stake in the company, just a car, and a bank account with enough money to last a few months, if she was careful. She turned to me then. Her eyes were no longer sharp. They were searching, pleading. "But we were together for 7 years. She whispered. I met her gaze.com/steady. "Yes," I said. "And for most of them, I was building a future you never cared to notice." The judge moved on. 10 minutes later, it was over. She came in expecting a windfall but walked out with a lesson. Some people learn the hard way that arrogance is expensive. She didn't move at first, just sat there stunned, staring at the judge like he had spoken a language she didn't understand. The confidence that had filled her steps walking into the courtroom had drained completely. Melissa looked over at me. Her eyes, once sharp and amused, were now glassy and lost. "We were together for 7 years," she said quietly, like it was supposed to mean something. I held her gaze for a moment. There was no anger left in me, no desire to hurt, only the kind of clarity that comes when the storm has passed. "And for most of those years," I said, "I loved you. I waited for you. I carried the weight of us alone, hoping you'd turn around and see me again." She opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. The courtroom was quiet. The judge had already moved on, and the moment that could have changed anything had long since expired. I stood, gathered my things, walked past her without another word. She didn't follow. Outside, the afternoon air was cool. I stepped into it like stepping into a new chapter. Not angry, not triumphant, just done. That night, I poured myself a glass of whiskey and stepped out onto my balcony. The city lights stretched out below, indifferent and beautiful. For the first time in years I felt still, not the numb, heavy kind from before, but real, grounded stillness. I looked up at the sky, took a slow sip, and allowed myself a small, quiet smile. No audience, no applause, just the end of something broken and the beginning of something earned. Sometimes, letting go isn't about walking away. It's about knowing when you've already gone. The months that followed were quiet, but not empty. I kept building. My company grew faster than I expected. Interviews started coming in. First a podcast, then an article, then a feature on a business network. Suddenly, the man she once called boring was sitting across from anchors talking about innovation, leadership, and how discipline built more than just stability, it built freedom. I never said her name, never told the story. I didn't need to, but I knew she saw it. People talk, screenshots circulate, curiosity does what it always does. She watched from a distance now, no longer the center of the picture, just a viewer on the outside. The man she left behind had become someone impossible to ignore. I met someone new, someone who didn't roll her eyes when I talked about systems and strategy. She didn't need chaos to feel alive. She understood that consistency is not the enemy of excitement, it's the foundation of everything lasting. We live quietly. No parades, no shows, just peace. The kind that doesn't need to be proven. Melissa never reached out again. Maybe she knew it wouldn't matter. Maybe she finally saw the difference between something steady and something stagnant, because sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't rage. It isn't shouting or proving someone wrong. Sometimes the sweetest revenge is success, it's silence. It's watching the person who underestimated you realize far too late what they really lost. If you've ever been looked down on for being steady, quiet, or reliable, drop a comment below and say, I choose to build in silence. And if this story reminded you of someone who's quietly working on something great, share it with them. They just might need to hear it today.